personal, scary stories from Reddit. In the background for half the video, I'll be coloring the sketch I prepared, and for the second half, I'll be playing solitaire. If you enjoy this combination of sounds and visuals, subscribe to my channel to get me to 1000 subscribers by the end of 2024. That would be awesome. Thank you. The article that I came across this morning truly horrified me to my core. And it was this article from CBS News titled "Florida Surgeon Mistakenly Removes Patient's Liver Instead of Spleen, Causing Him to Die," widow says. It was published on September 4th, 2024. Like, right there, what? This case is unbelievable, and it sent me down a rabbit hole that I have been many times before, and that is the anatomy of our abdominal organs. I cannot believe the word "mistakenly" in the title of this news article for a second. How does a surgeon mistakenly remove liver instead of a spleen? The article says, a Florida surgeon mistakenly removed a man's liver instead of his spleen, causing him to die on the operating table. A lawyer for the man's widow alleges. William Bryan, 70, of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Muscle Shoals, SHOALS, underwent surgery on August 21st at Ascension Sacred Heart Emerald Coast Hospital in Miramar, Florida, because of spleen abnormalities. William and his wife, Beverly Bryan, were in the Sunshine State visiting their rental property when he began experiencing left-sided flank pain. He was admitted to the hospital for further evaluation, and although the Bryans were reluctant to have surgery in Florida, they were persuaded by Dr. Thomas Shognovsky, a general surgeon, and Dr. Christopher Bacani, Bacani, the hospital's chief medical officer, that he could experience serious complications if he left the hospital's care. Both Shognovsky and Bacani appeared to be involved in discussions, according to the police reports, for how to proceed with Bryan's medical treatment. These are all from the police statements. Shognovsky, the surgeon, performed a hand-assisted laparoscopy laparoscopic splenectomy on William Bryan. Now get this. A hand-assisted laparoscopic splenectomy means that it was supposed to be like this. The surgeon is supposed to make an incision less than 1 centimeter. That's crazy. And they would use a narrow tube to see where they're going, and he used his hand in order to remove the spleen. But get this, instead of the spleen, he reached his hand and removed his liver, which is not even there. I don't know how he got there. Did he even make the incision on the left side of his body or the right side? Because the spleen is on the left and the liver is mostly on the right. The article continues. Dr. Shagnovsky removed Mr. Bryan's liver, and in doing so transected the major vasculature supplying the liver, causing immediate and catastrophic blood loss resulting in death. Now again, this next part just makes it like I have no words. The surgeon proceeded with labeling the removed liver as spleen, and it wasn't until following the death that it was identified that the organ removed was actually Mr. Bryan's liver and opposed to the spleen. Now I want to give you some information about spleen versus liver, because spleen can be removed from human body and the other organs would make up for it. But liver, on the other hand, is one of the most important organs in the human body. This surgeon might have as well have removed his heart. The human spleen is an organ, as you can see, located in the upper left part of the abdomen, just beneath the rib cage. It plays a crucial role in the body's immune system and blood maintenance. The spleen filters and recycles old or damaged red blood cells, while also storing white blood cells and platelets, which are vital for fighting infections. Additionally, it helps detect harmful bacteria or pathogens in the bloodstream and triggers an immune response by producing antibodies. Though not essential for survival, as other organs can compensate, the spleen significantly contributes to overall immune function. I'd like to know if even his spleen needed to be removed, cause their decisions, according to what they have said, looks very what's the word? Hasty. They did the surgery to remove his spleen. Were they even sure that the problem was wasn't sure because of some things that he said. Contrary to spleen, the liver is one of the most vital organs in the human body, responsible for a wide range of essential functions. It processes nutrients absorbed from the digestive system, converts them into energy or stores them for later use, and helps regulate blood sugar levels. The liver also detoxifies harmful substances by breaking down toxins such as drugs and alcohol, which are then excreted through urine or bile. It produces bile, a fluid necessary for digesting fats, and plays a key role in metabolizing proteins and fats. Additionally, the liver helps in clotting blood by producing important proteins and manages cholesterol levels in the body. And the most important part is that it has two main blood vessels, very large blood vessels, called the hepatic artery and the portal vein. The hepatic, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing any of this right. The hepatic artery carries oxygen-rich blood from the aorta via celiac trunk, whereas the portal vein carries blood rich in digested nutrients from the entire gastrointestinal tract, and also from the spleen and pancreas. And this surgeon, by yanking out this man's liver through that incision, cut off these two main arteries, which in seconds killed him. The article continues. Human spleen is roughly the size of an avocado, and the typical human liver is roughly the size of a football. Dear Lord, the family was informed that Mr. Bryant's spleen, the root of his original symptom profile upon presentation to the hospital, was still in his body and appeared with a small cyst on its surface. So that was where his symptoms came from. He had a cyst on his spleen, and I don't know what a real surgeon would do. Would they just remove the cyst from the spleen, or would they have to remove the whole spleen? I don't know about that, but in this case, this surgeon, quote unquote, decided, oh, your spleen is so messed up that it has grown 4 times to its original size, and it has moved to the other side of your body. So I'm gonna, take it out. And honestly, I'm going to skip the part in the article where the hospital made their statement, because who cares, they're just saying what sounds good and not giving any real information. But later in the article, it says Shognovsky had made a similar mistake in 2023, removing portions of a pancreas instead of an adrenal gland was settled privately. What? What is wrong with this surgeon? Like, where did he come from? Who gave him his certificate or whatever that he needed to become a surgeon? And the fact that no other person in that surgery room, operating room, mentioned anything. Because, he is the surgeon, and everyone should just bow down to him and follow, even if it's such an obvious and terrifying mistake. The article ends with the employment status of Shagnovsky and Bokani wasn't immediately clear. They were not reached for comment. According to a Wednesday afternoon search with the Florida Board of Medicine, Shagnovsky's medical license is active. That is also the case for Bokani. And that is the end of this article. I am speechless. How could this happen? And I want to know if there could be any, motivation behind doing something like that on purpose. But I don't know. Because he took it out and he labeled it spleen. I can't think of how in the world would this happen, but it sure did. I will definitely keep an eye out for any updates on this case. I really want to see what will this surgeon's fate would be after making such a huge mistake, literally. Now, for the next one, I'm going to be reading an article on dailymail.co.uk. It is titled Drunk Businesswoman 39 who glassed a pub drinker after he wrongly guessed she was 43 is spared jail after female judge says one person's banter may be insulting to others. Yes, so get ready to laugh at this woman and be angry at a case that has happened in the UK, and the person committing the crime got away. To be honest, I'm not sure what getting glassed means, but I'm assuming she hit him over the head with a bottle or something. This article was published on April 22nd, 2024. A drunk businesswoman who glassed a pub drinker after he wrongly guessed her age has been spared jail. A female judge said one person's banter may be insulting to others. Mother of one, Joanne D.O.D.D. 39, flew into a rage and attacked Carl Cooper after he suggested she was 43 in the beer garden of the Unicorn Pub in Manchester City Centre on September 9 last year. Mr. Cooper fled to the toilet in a bid to get away from the heated situation. But when he came out, Dot ran towards him and twice shoved her wine glass in his face. He was left with a 4-inch laceration to his face, narrowly missing his eye, and an injury to his thumb. That's terrifying because he was probably trying to shield his face. When quizzed, Todd, who runs a firm which organizes children's sleepover parties, said she was suffering from low self-esteem at the time, and said the banter was disobliging towards her. A firm which organizes children's sleepover parties, what in the world? The article goes to do this woman really dirty and put 3 back-to-back photos of her in this article. This is the first one, and under it says mother of 1. Joan Todd flew into a rage when a man guessed she was 4 years older than she was, only 4 years. So the woman, Joan, was 40, and she asked a man in a pub to guess what her age was, and the poor man guessed 43 when she was 40, and got glassed in his face for it. But in that case, this is the second picture, and assuming that these photos could be a year or 2 old, she did look older than she was. I'm even gonna say that the man thought she was 45, 46 and brought it down a couple of years to be nicer to her, I think. I don't know, maybe he was bullying her or something, but I do not think so. And this is the third picture. Like in this one, she looks 50. Not that is a bad thing, everyone's gonna grow old. I will be 50 one day and I will look 50 one day, it doesn't matter, that's the point. In this picture she looks 50, but she must have been 39 or 40. I don't know if you can't take the answer to the guess my age question. If you're that insecure about it, why would you ask someone and put them in that situation and then attack them? The article continues. At Manchester Courthouse, Crown Court, Dodd, who is from Swinton in Salford, faced up to 3 years in jail under sentencing guidelines after she admitted inflicting grievous bodily harm. However, she was spared jail and handed a suspended sentence after Judge Elizabeth Nichols, Nicholls, said she was a dedicated, hard-working woman who posed no risk to the public. Well, she still did a crime, and for that she should be punished. Just because someone isn't going to do it again. Or do you think, Judge, you think she's never gonna do it again? She still did it. Like, we should just forgive people who were hardworking up until they murdered someone. What if she made him blind? He's scar on his face. She says that it's barely noticeable, but it will be a constant reminder of your conduct on that night. There was a very unpleasant injury. It is a grave injury, but fortunately there is no permanent disfigurement. The judge added, there is no medication about the circumstances of the offense itself, but there is medication in relation to you. You are a woman with no previous convictions. You have never been in a court of law before, and you have positive good character. It is accepted that you are a dedicated, hard-working woman, and undoubtedly a loving mother. How does she know all of this? Just because she's never been to court before. The judge continues, it is right that you were remorseful from the beginning of the events at the police station. There is no doubt that this offense is so serious that it crosses the custody threshold. The judge continues, it is right that you were remorseful from the beginning of the events at the police station. There is no doubt that this offense is so serious that it crosses the custody threshold. The issue is whether the sentence is immediate or can be suspended. There can be no doubt in this case that you are no risk to the public and that this offense was entirely out of character, and I suspect that having been so shaken by your own conduct, the court will never see you again. Perhaps more importantly, you are a mother of a young child, although no doubt the child would be taken care of. An immediate term of imprisonment would have a devastating effect on your child. It would be disappropriate. Nope. It would be disproportionate to the sentence that needs to be imposed. I really don't like this, judge. But it says a suspended sentence. Suspended sentence. Does that mean she's going to go to jail later? The incident occurred on September 9 last year when Dot was out with her sister at the Unicorn Pub in Manchester City Centre. Prosecutor Emma Clark said Carl Cooper and his friend Stuart Coleman were in the beer garden and the defendant was intoxicated. Mr. Cooper and his friends were having a light-hearted conversation with the defendant's sister before the conversation turned to age. Mr. Cooper guessed the ages of the two women, but the defendant took offense at Mr. Cooper's guess. The conversation then became heated from there, and she told Mr. Cooper that she would glass him. Like, see, yes, she's a mother of a young child, and she decides to go out to the pub, get drunk, start weird conversations with stranger men, and then threaten them and then attack them. I don't understand how she's a good mother. I am a very judgy person though. I don't know. It continues. He went to the toilet to get away from the situation, and the defendant and her sister proceeded to the main bar area, but she caught sight of Mr. Cooper as he left the toilet and immediately ran towards him, striking him twice in the face with a glass, causing a laceration to the face and narrowly missing his eye. The defendant left the Unicorn pub shortly after the attack and was subsequently arrested at the Tesco store a short time after. The injury to Mr. Cooper's face was treated with stitches. Then what was the judge saying? Barely noticeable. I doubt having to get stitches on your face. The scar would not be barely noticeable a year later. I'm sure of that. You can notice it forever. Maybe a little one, but it will be there. What if the sexes were reversed and he also had a young child? Would he be spared jail when he attacked a woman just because he was a father? Or would he get treated even harsher because he was a father and acted this way? You decide. Todd was sentenced to 12 months in prison, suspended for 12 months, and was ordered to complete 180 hours of unpaid work. She was also ordered to pay 800 euros in compensation pounds. Yes. To pay 800 pounds in compensation to her victim. Her barrister, Mark. What is a barrister? Mark Friend said, so far as the offense itself was concerned, it may be a case where the less said the better. So far as the offense itself was concerned, it may be the case. But the events since that time remain very firmly in the mind of Miss Dodd. She was... Oh, it means lawyer, doesn't it? Yeah, the words seem like the words of a lawyer. She deeply regrets this and apologizes profusely to the complainant for her actions on that day. It may be said that some of what had been termed banter between them was rather disobliging, but the defendant does not seek to excuse or explain her actions, but you are doing that and it helped her get away. There was also an unfortunate coalition of factors that were impacting on the defendant on that occasion. How all of this is Mr. Cooper's fault too. There were issues in relation to the loss of her father and issues of self-esteem and self-worth. No doubt. The loss of her good character in the way she has is a burden she carries very severely. She could carry it in jail. In reality, this court can be most assured that Miss Dodd will not darken the doors of the court or any other court in the future. I hope so. That is the end of this article and the story of the drunk woman, Joanne Dodd. Alright, that was the news articles part of the video, and the rest will be Reddit stories. There's going to be paranormal it's not meat puns, which is not paranormal, and it is a true crime story, if it's true, which will be assuming all of this is honest stories, because that's the fun. And also I wanted to say that you will not be spooked, you will not get scared by these stories, because you decided tonight that when you listen to these stories, they will just help you fall asleep. And if you are already asleep, that's amazing. I'm currently sitting in a really small, dark closet to help reduce the sounds of the house and the AC. It is a nice vibe actually, and I'm not scared, so you shouldn't be either. What am I saying? The first story is on Paranormal Encounters subreddit, and it was posted by username Just Tiny Peach. It's titled Mirror in the Hall. Really happened to me. An absolutely true story that happened to me when I was 17 years old. I was born in Russia. And we have a tradition, perhaps it exists in other countries too, that if someone passes away, all the mirrors in the house need to be covered for some time. So my grandfather passed away, and a couple of days later, after we had organized the funeral, our apartment filled with people. My mom and other women were bustling around in the kitchen, preparing snacks for the guests. Right at the end of the hallway leading from the kitchen, there was a huge mirror that no one had covered. Everyone left the kitchen and went to the living room, and I decided to go to the bathroom. On my way to the bathroom, I glanced in the mirror and saw my grandfather standing in the kitchen behind me, as if nothing had happened. For the first half second, I didn't realize what had happened, but then a cold sweat covered my body. I quickly turned away from the mirror, and of course, no one was in the kitchen. Naturally, I was scared out of my mind and ran back to the room. I told my mom about it, and she covered the mirror. It's been 10 years since that day. I've long since left Russia, but that day, that moment, I remember as if it were yesterday. I am 100% convinced that I saw his spirit. In the comments, someone says I didn't know the supernatural side of it. I thought since we are mourning, checking out reflection on mirror is part of ensuring that we look good, which is not appropriate at that time. So they cover the mirrors to avoid doing it. But others say that mirrors are like a gate for spirits. So if you don't want them to stay with you, you should cover all the mirrors in the house. After that happened to me, she just said, her mom said to him, he wanted to say a last goodbye to you. That's crazy. He didn't know. What if he didn't know that he was dead and he was just standing in the kitchen like nothing had happened? my spirit standing there, not knowing that he was dead. This next one, which is also posted under Paranormal Encounters subreddit, is way creepier than the last one. It was posted by username Cosmic Wind Rider. It's titled, "As a kid I had an argument with something I thought was my friend." Full disclosure, I haven't told many this story, and after typing it out, it sounds really out there. I've had several paranormal encounters over the course of my life, but this was the first. Also, please forgive my grammar mistakes. When I was a kid, I had a friend named Boo. I called him this because you could see through him. Boo and I played a lot when I was little, even introduced him to the rest of my family. We did everything together. He was cool because he changed his shape. Wow. He could change his shape. He could be little like me or big like my dad. He could walk through walls and flew on with wings on his back. A week or two before my 4th birthday, Boo wanted to play in the front yard, which was normal for us. After a while, he said we had been friends a long time, and he wanted me to meet his family. He said he told his parents and siblings about me, and he said everyone was super excited to finally meet me. He told me they were going to throw me a big party with all the cakes and candies I could eat. As you could imagine, I was very excited. So I asked Boo where his family lived. He told me they lived in the other world, but that it was really easy to get to. Creepy. I asked how to get there. I was concerned I couldn't go because I didn't have wings like Boo did. He said we didn't have to fly to get there, and all I had to do was follow him away from my house. He wanted me to go down the street and into a grove of trees. I got kinda scared about getting in trouble, and I told Boo that Mommy and Daddy say I'm not allowed to leave the yard. He said they're not with us right now, so they won't know that we left. Dad was inside watching TV and Mom was at the store. I still wasn't sure. He told me that we were best friends and I should trust him. Boo then took me by the arm and started leading me out of the yard. He had opened the gate for me because I didn't know how to. I walked with him to the street corner. I stopped when I was suddenly filled with an overwhelming sense of fear. Boo asked why I stopped. I told him I was scared because that's the furthest I'd ever been away from the house without Mommy and Daddy. He said not to worry because we're almost there. His grip then tightened around my arm and he started pulling me hard. I was being so mean to me. Boo said it didn't matter because we would be in the other world soon. Crying, I told him I didn't want to go anymore. He responded by saying if I didn't go with him, then he would just leave me there, and I would have to find my own way home. Oh my god, this is so creepy because I don't know. I believe the writer, I believe that he believes this definitely happened to him, or that he's an amazing writer the way he explains the feelings of a 4-year-old is so accurate. The words that he uses to express the thoughts that he had, I don't know, it just feels really real to me. Even if it was all imaginary when he was a child, that's a crazy, imaginative story, that it was so real to him that he remembers. He continues, I said fine and yanked my arm away from him. He made his face look weird, like not human weird. There were shapes that shouldn't be there, and parts of it were really sharp. Then he left. I did make it back home and sat on the porch and cried. Boo was my best friend. I didn't understand why he was being so mean to me. A few minutes later, my mom returned from the grocery store and asked me what was wrong. I told her everything about mine and Boo's fight. She looked back and saw the gate was still open and told me I wasn't allowed to go outside without her and Dad. My father also got in trouble for not keeping an eye on me. But he was never the same. He kept being kinda mean to me. One day I told him we weren't friends anymore because friends aren't mean to each other. So I told Boo to leave and never come back. I never saw him again. Years later, my mom told me how scared she was after I told her what happened, because she said gate was open that day when she got home from the store, and she knew that I was too little and couldn't have had opened it by myself. Wow, terrifying, isn't it? That's a really good story. Very good story. Do you think children, by being so open-minded and so imaginative, they could open the doors for otherworldly entities to attach themselves to them by just being so pure that they can see and sense these things and they can attach them to them, attach themselves to children easier? I don't know, because in all these imaginary friend stories, they start saying them or talking to them as soon as they turn 4 or 5. I don't know, what do you think? Have you ever had an imaginary friend? Alright, this next one is on subreddit Let's Not Meet, and what was uploaded by username Thanks Serge. understand, my dad was never a good father. He lacked all the qualities a normal, mentally healthy father would, and we lived in a very low-income housing. When he was in high school, he was told he was unable to have kids due to a car accident, leaving his bits mangled. Unfortunately, he still could in fact have kids, and in his mid-30s, he managed to accumulate 13 kids. 15 now. Dear Lord. This man has 15 kids. Even though I lived week on, week off custody with my father, it feels like I never really got to know him, nor was I ever introduced to more than one of my father's other kids that were before me. My older half-sister was the only other person I'd ever met. I don't even know her mom. So, do you think this father has had 15 kids with 15 different women? A lot of this memory has been repressed into deep corners of my mind, so details might seem foggy. I'm 21 now, and I only recently fully acknowledged that it happened. I even confirmed it with my mom. When I was 10, someone entered our apartment. I can't remember what his name was, but he claimed to be one of my father's long-lost children. He seemed to be in his late teens to early 20s and asked if he could stay with us for a while he attempted to get back on his feet after moving from up California. I'm in Oregon. He didn't seem to have many belongings except an old laptop, and was rough around the edges, mid-length hair, light shadow on the face, fairly skinny and tall. Sounds like a homeless man. My dad was always weird about him though. He told me that this was my brother, his family, and will be taking my room for a bit while I sleep in the living room. What was weird was that my dad would never let me enter my old room. I remember thinking even though my new brother is kind of odd, he was a super cool guy. We played Minecraft together on LAN. Alien. He was a programmer trying to make some Skyrim-like game and showed me everything he had made so far. He stayed with us for around a month. The day he was chased out of our apartment, we were having a Minecraft redstone competition to whoever could make the cooler redstone build. And the next day we would present what we made and decide who had the better build. Unfortunately, that never came to happen, because that night I'm not sure what time it was. At least past midnight. I heard screaming. It was clearly my father, and loud banging coming from the wall over in our apartment. witnessed my father, full rage, chasing out whoever my brother was. As he ran out the apartment holding a knife, my dad screamed and yelled, and he chased him outside. But as he ran away, my dad came back to make sure we were okay. Much later that night, I went to sleep with my dad sitting in the living room until dawn, guarding the apartment. It wasn't until months later that I found out exactly what had happened that night. Mostly my father's words, and he liked to embellish things, so take this with a grain of salt. Apparently, whoever was pretending to be my brother went into my father's room late at night and stabbed him in the chest while he was sleeping. My father woke up, and since he had previous military work in the Middle East, I guess sprung up pretty quickly into action, as my younger sister was about to get stabbed. What? My father tackled the man and wrestled him for a bit, beating him senseless. After a struggle, he managed to get free and run out of the apartment. That's all I can really remember. Recently, I asked my mom about it, and she basically confirmed the whole story and added in some bits that put it together. My mom saw the stab wound herself and said he never went to the hospital, but instead she patched him up, as she's a nurse, and he couldn't afford that anyway. It wasn't really that bad, she said. I guess at some point after it happened, I also told her about it, which I don't have any memory of. Also, the police at some point came by and took a look around. The impersonator was wanted in California, Oregon, and Washington for a multitude of crimes. I don't remember his name, so I could ever find out if he was caught. So to wrap this up, is there really a good way to wrap this up? Don't let random people in your house. That is a crazy story. What was wrong with his father? Having 15 children, just assuming that someone's... And do you think that man, that the boy that pretended to be his son, didn't know about the fact that this man just had 15 children lying around? I bet he had his suspicions. What a terrifying memory of your childhood, to have been playing around with a strange man, that will later go on to stab your family members, or try to. That is the end of all the stories and articles that I had gathered for tonight. It's hopefully 60 minutes long. It feels way more than that. I've been talking for a long time. I hope you're sleeping.